Hey Stinky, ready for 17-gallon drop-off tank update? Okay, let's go.
It's go time.
Hey, what's up Reefers? What is better than a reef tank? 2 reef tanks. I'm really loving this 2 reef tank setup. I'm sitting in the middle. I look to my right, I got my 45-gallon tank. I look to my left, I got the 17-gallon drop-off tank that's almost done cycling. But today let's talk about the 17-gallon drop-off tank. Now the tank has been up for about 3 weeks with water running, and I have been trying to be really patient, but I've had it. So I decided that, okay, it looks like it's time. I tossed one of the mushroom coral that I had sitting in the refugium of the 45-gallon tank into the 17-gallon drop-off just to see how it does. If it's not looking too good, I'll quickly put it back to the 45. But thankfully, after 3 days, it's looking nice. It actually colored up quite a bit under the ONF flat 1 light. I wasn't sure how it would react, but the color actually became a little bit more vibrant. So it's not how the light renders the coral coloration. It's more like when it first came into this tank, it was a little bit dulled, but after a few days, it actually brightened, if that makes sense. So I'm really glad to see it. And along with the mushroom coral, I actually tossed in 3 keyhole limpets that I had crawling around in the sump just to see if the water is sustainable. And thankfully, all of them are alive and well, and they're crawling all over the place trying to find food. And you notice right here, I have this really ugly looking thermostat also from my 45-gallon tank. I just want to move it over here to make sure I have the water temperature set right. It's sitting at about 77 or so. I may crank it up a little bit, but I think 77 is a pretty good amount as well. Now let's talk filtration. So one of my decisions is that I will go skimmerless, at least initially, because of a 17-gallon tank. It's so easy to do water change that I think water change will be my main source of nutrient export. So I'll go with that first. If that does not work out, I can always slap a skimmer in there. So with that said, I'm going to rely heavily on number 1, water change, number 2, mechanical filtration. That's why I have the filter pad right there. And number 3, biological filtration. So if you look back there in the back chamber, you notice that I have a couple marine pure spheres, not the block, the spheres. Now I'm going to swing the camera back because in the back of the tank there's actually a nice clear window, but I can't really see the camera, so I'll just have to trust that I'm aiming right. Okay, right there, kind of. So I actually added these marine pure spheres into the 45-gallon tank's refugium to let them get seeded. So after 2 weeks, they're crawling with pods, crawling with a Bristol worm, and I'm sure all the crevices and the pores are crawling with bacteria, beneficial bacteria. So after 2 weeks, I figure, okay, the tank is pretty much cycled. I'm gonna move these spheres over to the back chamber. And these are not all the spheres, by the way. These are maybe like a quarter of them. I don't want to move all of them out at once because if I take off so much beneficial bacteria, I may cause a mini crash. So a lot of them are still over there in the sump, but I started moving some of these spheres over here to help with biological filtration and to kickstart the bacteria colony here in the 17-gallon tank. So these are the main filtration methods that I plan to use with 17-gallon drop-off tank to start off, and we'll see how it goes. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is actually the water currents, the water flow. Like Adam from Artfully Acrylic explained, the flow is kind of like a gyre. So the flow comes out from here, goes down here, and then cycle back up there. So it's actually really cool. That spot right here would be perfect for MPS because the water just naturally gently lift up this way and go over. So it's perfect. But we're going to talk about detritus. Like a lot of you guys mentioned, the Bikini Rocks from BLS has a lot of like sand and detritus trapped in the little crevices. So for the last 3 weeks, every 2 or so days, I'll take a turkey baster and kind of blast the hose to kind of like flush all the crap out. And these are the results. These is actually really not bad at all because I've been doing this for about 2.5 weeks and a lot of stuff got siphoned out already. And the cool thing is that there are some natural dead spots in the tank where the detritus or the sand will collect. For example, this strip right here as well as in the lower deck, that one tiny spot, thing just kind of swirl and just end up right there, which is really cool. This spot is really easy to siphon. I just go, and that's it. But up here is a little bit more problematic, so this may become a little issue down the road. We'll see. I may have to play with the return nozzle's position in the future. So far, no major issue collecting the detritus except for one problem. This problem is probably unique to my tank because my tank is a used tank. So if you did not catch it before, this is actually one of the very first 17-gallon drop-off tank that Fully Acrylic built, and somebody had been using it for a freshwater planted tank in competitions. So this tank actually won a pretty nice competition. But the problem with using this as a freshwater planted tank is that they use really rough substrates, like little pebbles and stuff. So when they kind of move the substrate around, it scratches up, it destroys the black acrylic at the bottom. And knowing that I am going to go bare bottom with this tank, Adam from Fully Acrylic decided to cut 2 pieces of new black acrylic to kind of overlay it to the old one, because the black acrylic is a little bit tougher to buff out compared to the clear ones. So that's what I have. Essentially, those are 2 new pieces of black acrylic just kind of overlaying the old ones. Now the problem is, it's not an exact match, because otherwise it would not go into this space. So there's like a tiny crack around the edges where the sand can collect, if you can see it. Now, it's not so tight that they wedge in there, because like if I use a turkey baster to kind of blast it, they kind of flow out. But eventually, sometimes they do kind of settle back in there. So that is kind of annoying. But I'm dealing with it, and whenever I blast it, it does come out. So I think over time, I'll probably clear out those space. And the cool thing is that as I blast this, a lot of them get flowed to the back, and they'll like go through this the different chambers and get collected in the foam pad, and that's completely fine. And some of them do get left behind in this chamber, and that is okay too, because right now this back chamber is mainly hosting the Marine Pure sphere. And once in a while, I plan to pull out the sphere and just use a wet and dry vac to kind of vacuum up all the crap down there, so it should be no problem at all. So these are the progress of the 17-gallon drop-off tank in the past 2 or 3 weeks. I had not been doing any major update on this tank simply because there's not too much to talk about when it's cycling. But I think the cycling process is nearing the end, so I think the fun is about to start. So, are you excited? I know I am. Now, before I let you guys go, there's one more thing. Recently, I started an Instagram account, and then I've been spending a little bit more time on it. I started sharing short clips of videos. These are topics that I want to talk about, but then they're not quite long enough for a YouTube video. So I'll share those on my Instagram as like a really short story and get some input from you guys. So if you guys are interested and you have an Instagram account, please consider adding me. My username there is Inappropriate Reefer, all one word, and of course I have that in the outro as well. Well, with that said, I'm going to let you guys go, and I am going to continue my holiday shopping and wrapping. I hope this holiday has been kind to you guys and your wallets. Alright, well, see you guys next time.